What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Mental Corner podcast, the show where I bring on guests from all different backgrounds to talk all the things mental health. I am your host, Harry Potvin, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Nita Kasan. Nita is a brand ambassador and promoter for the company Prüvit, which is a worldwide leader in ketone technology. Pruvit's philosophy is simple. They don't want to sell products, but rather they want to inspire others to participate in the ketone movement to help everyone achieve maximum human potential. Nita was an absolute blast to have on, and I really want to thank her again for coming on and having this discussion with me. Now, before we get into the episode today, guys, you know the drill. If you're listening, please like, comment, share, subscribe, give 5 stars if you're on that podcast platform. Share with someone who might want to hear this episode. It's a really great one, and I can't wait for you to listen. I'll talk to y'all very soon. I'm going to go nap. Have a great rest of your day. Peace. All right, we are good to go. Nita, how is it going? Thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, it's great to see you again, Harry, and thanks so much for having me.
Of course. So I want to get right into it. Why ketones? Like what got you inspired to get into that lane of work?
A couple of years ago, I'd never even really heard of ketones and had no clue what they were. But I had been introduced to ketones from a friend of mine, and the information I had heard initially was just so intriguing to me. I've always been very health focused, and have always believed that what we eat influences us physically, mentally, emotionally, just kind of the whole gamut. And so when I started to learn a little bit more about ketones and how they can affect us in all of those ways, I just needed to keep on digging. I wanted to hear more. I wanted to learn more. At the same time, when I had the opportunity to try these exogenous ketones, the impact that I felt right away was really, pretty amazing to me, but also the impact that I was seeing with some family members as well. And so that was what really kind of captured me right from the beginning. And it's something that I will, just in terms of personally, it'll be something that'll be a part of my life for the rest of my life. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So when you first took them, what was kind of the initial change that you first observed, like where you were like, "Oh, this is different."
Yeah. It's interesting because I think what I experienced was probably the same thing as what most people experience the first time that they shake up a ketone drink and drink it. And that is that you kind of feel like your brain comes alive a little bit. And the reason for that is because the ketones are a fuel, just like glucose is a fuel, which is what most of us are typically working off of every day because of the way that we eat. But if we've got ketones in our system, our body and especially our brain actually prefers ketones over glucose. So the first time that you're drinking the ketones, your brain is kind of like, whoa, this is what I like. This is the kind of fuel that I really like. So you get a sense of clarity, kind of increased focus, a lift to your mood. I always say that it just kind of, you almost feel more productive. A lot of people, right from the get-go, they kind of, they're cleaning the house up and down that day because they've just got the energy and you just feel better. It's kind of like if you're here, you kind of go here. And that's one of the things that I think is just really interesting because a lot of people turn to or they'll try exogenous ketones because of the fat loss benefits. But that's not going to happen the first time you drink it, obviously. But if somebody's able to try the ketones and feel that sense of kind of how it is lifting your mood, lifting your energy level, that's kind of a feeling that you don't want to necessarily walk away from. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people, and certainly me, the first time that I drank it and could feel that, I'm a pretty high energy level person to begin with, but to have it go to another level and to not get tired in the afternoon, and some of those kinds of benefits, because there's so many benefits that kind of hit the gamut with ketones. But that was really what I noticed initially, and then the benefits just they never seem to go away, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. So I just want to clarify. It's like a 24-hour rush. Like you feel energy that like the whole day, pretty much.
Um, you know, it not necessarily 24 hours, because from what I understand, listening to the researchers that have developed the product, it's when you drink the ketones, it may be 6 hours or so that you've kind of got it rolling in your system. That's one of the reasons why. I mean, I know I drink it at least twice a day. So it's the first thing I have in the morning before I go to the gym, and it kind of kicks everything into gear. And then also I have it again later in the afternoon, because I basically just want to be able to kind of hold off on, the cravings that I might have, and maybe a little bit of appetite suppression as I go into dinner or go into the evening. So most people for optimal results is twice a day. So if you kind of look at, you got a 6-7 hour period of time that, that is lasting. But, even if you're, like, I know for me, even if I'm just drinking one in the morning, which is not my usual, but if I only had one in the morning, I just that sense of how I feel, and that energy level and clarity and all of that just seems to last, all day for me. And what's interesting is that even though you've got ketones that are giving you energy, giving you focus, giving you clarity, when you lay your head down to go to bed, you sleep like a baby, because again, the ketones really help with sleep. So I think that, the one thing that is so beneficial is that there are multiple different kinds of benefits. We always say that, these ketones are providing better fat loss, better energy, better focus, better clarity, better digestion, all these things, also better sleep. And so when you kind of put that all together, it's what kind of improves your overall performance, optimal human performance, really. So when I think about the kinds of challenges that most of us have these days, whether it's physical challenges or emotional challenges, mental challenges, whatever it is, having something that is so natural that can help to benefit. We're not talking about a chemical. We're not talking about a drug. We're not, this is a nutritional supplement. And like I said, it's a fuel. And having something like that can make a difference in how you feel and kind of your overall outlook on life, I think is pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
Yeah.
is the drink form that you're talking about, is that kind of like a new product? Like what was used before the drink to
Yeah,
achieve
interesting.
this?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of people have heard of the ketogenic diet. So, because a lot of times when you'll ask people, do you know what ketones are? They'll say, well, I've heard of the ketogenic diet. So they don't necessarily understand what ketones are, because it's really, it's a new topic. It's a fairly new conversation out there. But the ketogenic diet and ketones, the focus on ketones, has been around for over 100 years. Back in the 1920s, there were some physicians that had put together the ketogenic diet specifically for children with epilepsy. And what they found was when they put kids on a ketogenic diet, very high fat, very low carbohydrate, that their seizures either went away or were significantly reduced. That's so powerful. And that was, without drugs, without anything, just the diet alone. And so over these past 100 years or so, you've had a lot of research and a lot of science that has gone into trying to understand this diet, trying to understand the benefits and those types of things. And I would say that the ketogenic diet probably came back into focus maybe in the 1990s or so. I think that there were some Hollywood people that, had discovered the ketogenic diet, and there was the Atkins diet. And so a lot of people were starting to get a little bit more familiar with it. And to just kind of understand what happens when somebody follows a ketogenic diet, it's again, 85% fat, 15% protein, 5% carbs. That's really, really low, really, really low in carbs. But what happens to your body is that because you don't have the carbohydrates in your system, your body goes through a process, and the liver does a breakdown of certain things with the fat cells and things like that. And you end up with ketones that get put into your, that are developing in your body and your system. Those ketones then become the fuel source. So you don't have the glucose, you don't have the all of that. You've got the ketones that are the fuel source. And what they started to discover is that if somebody follows that type of a restrictive ketogenic diet, they actually get into ketosis, just meaning that they've got ketones in their bloodstream, and they started seeing the benefits, the incredible benefits. Again, the brain health, the fat loss, the better sleep, all the things that I've mentioned. And but if you think about it, following a ketogenic diet is extremely, extremely difficult. I've never done it. I've never been able to do it. But people that have done it or have tried it understand that it's extremely difficult. You know the benefits, but it's extremely difficult. If you are on the ketogenic diet, it takes you a while. People vary. It might be a couple days to a couple weeks, sometimes a couple months to actually get into ketosis. And the way you're in ketosis, you can take the little keto sticks that you can get in a drugstore and check your urine, and it'll show that you've got ketones in your system. But if you get to that point, and you are fully in ketosis, and you eat a batch of strawberries, it knocks you right out of ketosis. So you're kind of back to ground zero. And that's, I think, one of the frustrating things for a lot of people that are trying to follow that diet. So what happened was about, I'm going to say maybe 7 or 8, 9 years ago, the Department of Defense here in the United States and the Navy, the United States Navy, had an issue that they were trying to solve. And the issue was that the Navy divers will do very deep dives. And a lot of times when they're doing these really deep dives, they'll wear what's called an oxygen rebreather mask, which basically helps prevent bubbles from going to the surface. So, and that's great because it helps them to not be detected, but it can cause seizures, it can cause blackouts. And so the Navy wanted to try to figure out, is there something that could be done to help prevent this? And they were aware of the ketogenic diet and the benefit that had on epilepsy. So they started looking around the world actually to find some experts on ketosis and ketones and the ketogenic diet. They ended up working with Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, who I'm in Florida, and he's actually here in Florida at the University of South Florida. And that led to a couple of years of research, and the research led to the development of the exogenous ketone product, which is a powder in a packet that you just mix with water. And Prüvit, the company that I'm working with, was the first company to obtain the rights to manufacture and sell the ketones. So that's how the product came to be. Up until 6 years ago, there was no such thing as exogenous ketones. The only way to get your body into ketosis was to follow that type of a restrictive diet. So now you have a powder that you can mix with water, multiple incredible flavors, tastes amazing, that puts your body into ketosis in less than an hour. So again, I can drink it, and in less than an hour, I can check and I can see that I've got ketones in my system. I can feel it, and I can start to experience the benefits of it.
So it's literally just undergoing ketosis without the pain and the strict
Exactly.
regime.
Exactly.
Damn.
People because a lot of people, want to continue to do the ketogenic diet, but they do want to be able to cheat a little, here or there or whatever. And so they love it because they're able to very quickly get back into ketosis. And for a lot of other people, a lot of people will say, okay, I have body fat that I want to lose. How can this help to, what do I need to do? Do I need to follow a ketogenic diet? And you don't. What we typically will recommend is that you just start to decrease your carbs. You know, I think the average number of carbs that most people eat on a daily basis is something like 250 grams of carbs a day. I mean, we eat a lot of carbs. If people just start to decrease those carbs, don't eat as much junk food, don't eat as much, of the higher carb kinds of foods, the breads and the, things like that. And start bringing that down gradually. It doesn't even have to be, you go from 100 to 0 kind of thing, but just start to decrease the carbs. Then you're going to start seeing the benefit of the fat loss. The other thing that helps with that is that because the ketones are also giving you energy, a lot of people might not feel like getting off the couch. So if you've got a tool to help you maybe not be as hungry, to help, kind of with the fat burning that's going on internally, and then to give you a little more energy to just want to get out and walk or go to the gym or whatever it is that you love to do. And all of that kind of comes into play. And again, sleeping better adds to that because, research shows that if you don't sleep well, that can affect your body fat percentages as well. So it's kind of the gamut of all the benefits put together. And that, that's just kind of a great tool to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to get into the sleeping component. Like, how does it improve your sleep? Is it just because you're burning more energy throughout the day that you're naturally exhausted at the end, or how does that work?
I really don't know. I'd have to kind of dig back into the research as far as there's so much science and so much research behind these ketones, these exogenous ketones. But my understanding is that it's a part of the brain health that helps with the sleep, that, you've kind of got almost a calming effect. So you've got energy, but the one thing that's interesting, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I know that for a lot of people that drink coffee and they want that caffeine, is that coffee you're
It is.
I love it. Yeah, there you go. Well, it's like you're getting this boost, right? And a lot of times, and just say that it's somebody who maybe doesn't typically drink a lot of coffee and they drink some coffee, they're getting a pretty significant boost. And then they're kind of getting a drop, after a period of time. That doesn't happen with ketones. You don't get this boom, boom kind of thing. You're getting almost a gradual, elevation of your energy level, and I think that it's the overall brain health that is giving you that energy, giving you that level of focus and everything. But at the same time, it has an impact on how you sleep when you lay yourself down, lay down to go to sleep. The product does come in both caffeinated and non-caffeinated. So for some people, I drink, even though I don't drink caffeine on a regular basis, I don't drink coffee, but I drink the caffeinated version of the ketones just because I don't know, I just do. But a lot of people don't want caffeine, or maybe they feel like they're sensitive to caffeine. So they can drink the non-caffeinated and still experience the same benefits. The only difference that I hear from different people is sometimes they just feel a little bit more of a boost with the caffeinated version, but you're still getting the same amount of ketones, same benefits that you would whether it's drinking the caffeinated or the non-caffeinated. And the product is as clean as you can get. I mean, it's bioidentical, meaning that it's as close to the ketones that your body would naturally produce. It's gluten-free, dairy-free. It's just it's just a very, very healthy product for people to try. And a lot of times people will ask questions about, well, I've got this medical condition, or I'm on this medication, or any of those kinds of things. And, we always recommend, just like any supplement out there, we always recommend that people check with their doctor. But that, there's also a ton of research out there that can be Googled, ketones and whatever, the issue might be. And people will be able to see a lot of information related to ketones and the incredible research and benefits that there could be to some of the things that people might be experiencing.
Mm-hmm. I like that it's all out there, all
Yeah.
open for the public.
Yeah, exactly. And Prüvit continues to work very, very closely with the University of South Florida that has continued the research, everything from all kinds of chronic diseases to Olympic athletes and the impact on them. It's kind of like we think about the typical person. The typical person might just want a little more energy, might just want to maybe lose some body fat, whatever it might be. But then you've got, all the way on the other extreme where you've got people that are high level athletes that are just looking to improve their performance by a fraction of a second. And so, it's been interesting to see the research that's been done with some of those folks as well.
Is it like FDA approved in terms of the athletic world? Like, is it all, because it's all natural, right?
Yeah, just like the FDA doesn't actually do the approval of nutritional supplements, so it doesn't have that kind of approval. But the research is overwhelming, so I would just encourage people to do the research. And that's one thing that certainly if people have interest, I can direct people to some of the research that has either been done by Pruvit or by other, there's researchers all over the world that focus on ketones and metabolic health and all of the different benefits. So there's a ton that's out there that people can get access to, which is great.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is really awesome. Um,
yeah.
so there's all this research out, and there's so many benefits to using these supplements and things like that. Why is it not talked about as much in like normal discussion about energy boosting?
Yeah, I have no idea other than the fact that it's, like I said before, it's a new conversation. Having something that's been out there for just 5 years, I think that it's, it might just be because it's a newer concept and people haven't necessarily heard of exogenous ketones. But that's one of the purposes, I think, and one of the missions of Pruvit is to continue to educate the world, to just help people to be able to have a better version of themselves through this product. But I do think that we are seeing it grow more and more and more. This product is now available in about 27 different countries, so it has become an international conversation. We've got people drinking ketones all over the world, which is really exciting. And when they, when Pruvit opens up in another country, there's a lot that has to be done, with customs and with the review of the ingredients and all those kinds of things. So I think that says a lot as well about the product itself. So, but I mean, I think that's a part of our purpose. Those of us that have decided to get involved from the business perspective is to really just continue to let people know that this kind of a product, this kind of a tool is out there. It's not, we don't consider it a weight loss tool necessarily, but when you look at all the benefits and you understand that when you've got ketones in your system, that it does accelerate your fat loss and it can help to decrease your cravings and those types of things. It is the number one reason why people start to drink and continue to drink ketones is for the fat loss. So, but yeah, I mean, I think as time goes on, we will see more and more. I think the other part is that, when you've got something that is not a drug necessarily, you've got people who are sharing their voices. You don't have billions and billions of dollars from a pharmaceutical company or whatever it might be that's going into marketing. So, we've got people all over the world that are sharing the message, and thousands of testimonials, and those testimonials speak volumes, obviously, because there's typically something that other people can relate to, whether it's people that have struggled, again, physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is. There's thousands of testimonials that are out there that people can take a look at and listen to and just think about, well, why not? I mean, there's no reason for someone not to try them. There's the company provides 100% guarantee. You've got 30 days once somebody orders the ketones. They've got 30 days to be able to completely return it if they don't like it. That rarely happens. So, and you, there's, other than the shipping costs or whatever, you can get your money back. So we always encourage people to at least try them and just see how it feels, especially because you'll feel something right from the get-go.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like linking it to the mental health benefits,
Yeah.
we mentioned this in the pre-call, and I just wanted to ask you again because it was so fascinating. Like how does it impact your mental health?
Yeah, I think that what the research has shown is really specifically targeting on what you're asking about. I think is really the brain health benefits. And again, if you so think about it this way, our brains typically are functioning off of glucose, right? So, and our body, in order for glucose to get anywhere in the body, it has to be carried by insulin. So you've got insulin, that's carrying the glucose throughout the body. One of the things that can happen over time, different people experience this at different ages, but is a level of insulin resistance in the brain. And when that, I think back to the information that I've heard from the research. If you've got a level of insulin resistance in the brain, that basically means that the insulin can't carry the glucose into the brain. So the brain's not getting the full level of fuel that it needs. But ketones don't have to be carried in by anything. Ketones easily cross the blood-brain barrier. And I think that's one of the reasons why the first time you drink it, you kind of just feel it. Because it's immediately getting into the brain, and your brain prefers. That's one thing that the research shows in a 1,000 different ways, is that your brain prefers ketones. So, when you look at some of the other benefits, the ketones can help provide a better mood. So if you're struggling with any kind of a mental concern, having a better mood, a lift in that brain health, I think has the potential to help people feel better. This is, again, it's not a drug, it's not replacing anything, but we have seen a lot of people, there's a lot of testimonials out there where people have just been able to handle things a little bit better, whether that's been something in the past, some trauma, whatever maybe it's been. But a lot of people that have struggled have definitely shared their stories with how they're able to handle things, manage things a little bit better. So I kind of look at it as, it's almost the same thing as, the person that wants to lose 40 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever it is. It's a tool. There's no magic pill. There's nothing. It's not a drug, as as I've said a bunch of times, but it is a tool. And if, when we look at the tools that we've got, in our toolkits, maybe it doesn't have to be candy bars and, McDonald's. Maybe it's something like ketones that not only is healthy for you, helps you feel better, but helps you to shift from some of those bad habits that we might have. I think too, when people are struggling in whatever way, I don't, it doesn't matter if the stress is coming from something, a long time ago, or the stress that we've got in the world today, whatever it is, that stress that we are, that we all are living with, we all deal with a little bit differently. And for a lot of people, it's eating, and, it's just the comfort food kind of thing. And a lot of times the comfort food is so unhealthy for you. So it's affecting us physically. We don't feel good. We're doing this with our mood kind of thing. And I think it's just, if we can avoid some of that, no one's perfect. No one needs to be perfect. But if we can avoid some of that, then I think, from the mental strength side of things, it's worth trying and seeing if it's something that maybe helps you feel a little bit better, lifts your mood. And again, kind of back to the energy that you mentioned, because, if you're struggling with energy, again, that's affecting everything. You don't want to work. You don't want to take care of the kids. You don't want to, we've all got these responsibilities on our plates, and it's difficult sometimes. And, if we can have a tool that can just kind of give us back that energy that maybe we had in the past. I'm amazed. I'm amazed sometimes with some of the people that are involved with this business, young moms with 4 little kids, and I'm like, how in the world do you do this? But it's, having the energy to be able to manage everything that we've got in our lives is just, I think is a really great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you completely nailed it. I think some people might misidentify this like as a happy pill / happy drink per se. Like, oh, you drink it, you feel better immediately. But it's
Yeah.
more like the beginning of a chain reaction. Like it's the
Yeah.
catalyst, because like
That's
if you have
really,
the, yeah, like if you have the energy to do all your tasks or like get out of bed, or you lose that appetite for the comfort food, then it just keeps going down the chain.
yeah, it's really interesting that you're saying that. And I do, I think I've maybe said it, in certain ways, but, I do want people to understand that, everything that I'm sharing there's no medical advice, that in this in any way. It really is for informational purposes only. But that's my goal, is for people to know and hear that information so that they can dig into things themselves. But when you talk about the chain, I think about that all the time, because our brain is the beginning of our kinetic chain. So it's like, if our brain is getting the right fuel, not only is it how we feel, how we think, how we sleep, but it's how we move our body. It's giving us certain things that, it's all connected, because if your brain is, struggling in certain ways, your body's going to be struggling in certain ways as well. So it's just kind of interesting when you think about that kinetic chain, and how I think that's probably why we see so many different benefits that affect, all the different parts of our bodies. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was actually one of the that throughout this whole lockdown, that was kind of one of the main things where I was sitting there. I was like, why is no one talking about, the need for, a good diet, or the need for exercise, or like in this case like ketones. Like it was more just isolate, and they never really prioritized the people's mental or physical well-being, which was always so confusing to me, because
Yeah.
it's a big part of health.
Oh, exactly. And, and not only lockdown, in terms of the restrictions that, a lot of us have had with not being able to go certain places, whatever, but the mental lockdown, that has surrounded that, to not be able to necessarily see family, see friends, live your normal life, go to the gym the way you've always gone, all those things, and the stress around that. And you're right. It has not been, it's like the gloom and doom, has been the media focus, versus what is it you really could do to help yourself cope with this. And it is, maybe you can't go to the gym because you live in a state that's restricted, going to gyms or whatever, but you can walk, you can go into a room and put on a video, or, whatever. There are those kinds of things. And I do think that really is where a lot of the focus needs to go. It's interesting for Prüvit, and for the people that are involved with the business, being able to share this message. Last year, 2020, this one is even exceeding that, but 2020 was the most successful year for the company. And you think about the fact that, this is a company that a lot of the promoters, were typically doing talks in front of people, doing presentations, doing one-on-one conversations, whatever. And all that went away last year. So now all you had was phone calls, Zoom calls, those kinds of things to share the message. But I do think that the people who were able to hear the message did want to try the ketones, because of everything that you just mentioned. And so I think that it is that combination. I mean, it doesn't look like all of this is going to be resolved, anytime soon. So it's still a perfect time to be thinking about, how could you fuel your body better? How could you move your body a little bit better? How could you maybe have something that helps you make a little bit better choices with what you're eating, and have that benefit overall, everything head to toe. I think one of the things that we learned this past year or so, is truly how important our health is. I mean, it's just been amazing to look at how, how these illnesses have affected people differently based on their health, their overall health. So, I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time when our health has been more important than today. And, it's interesting too, when you look at, I know you probably have people in other countries that may be listening to your message as well. But, just within the United States, 6 out of 10 Americans have at least one chronic disease, and 4 out of 10 have at least 2 or more. That's like mind-boggling to me, and you've got 40% of Americans that are obese. When you put obese with overweight category, that's representing 70% of the country.
Wow.
70% of our country is either overweight or obese. So it's kind of like being unhealthy has become the norm. And, we just have, a lot of people have just kind of adapted to it. Well, this is just the way it's going to be. And, my family, that whatever. It is not the way it's going to be. It doesn't have to be this way. People can change no matter what. I don't care if somebody has 200 pounds to lose. People can change their lives. They can change their health, and they can change the way that they feel. And, that's one of my passions and one of my big messages. I'm a nurse, I've been a nurse for many, many years. And obviously being on that side of health can be a little frustrating sometimes, because you want, you want people to wake up before it's too late. And, sometimes people get used to feeling so bad that they don't even remember what feeling good feels like. So, I would encourage people to, if they haven't ever tried the ketones, to try them. Just see how you feel. See, whatever your challenge is, just see if it helps. And like I said, if that can be a tool for you, then that's great. But it's going to continue to be one of the most important things we can do, is to really focus on our health and not feel like, a lot of times I think people wake up in the morning and it's like, today's the day, this is it. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do all this, and then about noon, something happens and it's like, well, that went to hell,
Yep.
And so it can be very discouraging, and people give up. They, they're starting it, with the desire, and then they give up. I look at this as, there's the potential that motivation could last longer. And if the motivation is lasting longer, that's, that can give you a higher level of potential success with whatever it is that you feel is a challenge for you.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, because I was actually just going to add on to, like, when people get to a point where it's almost too late, motivating themselves to get back to where they're okay is so hard, because of the fact that they unknowingly have spent years building up, like, their body fat percentage or their out of shapeness. I don't even know what to call it, but
Right.
it's years in the making. It's not like you wake up one day and you're overweight. So to
Right.
get back there, like, it's way harder to lose weight than it is to gain it. And you're trying to lose years of work. It's like,
Yeah.
it's really discouraging.
Yeah, that's really true, because it's and a lot of times people will feel like, well, why didn't I lose, in the first 2 weeks, why didn't I lose 20 pounds? Well, you didn't gain all this weight in 20 days. I think one of the things that, I always encourage people to do is, if fat loss especially is a goal, to give it 60 to 90 days. I would encourage people to, add ketones to their lifestyle, start paying attention to what's happening, with their body and how they feel. Start moving. And, the thing that's awesome about Prüvit is that there are a ton of resources. So there's a lot of information, a lot of ebooks and whatever on fitness and on moving and on what to eat and, all those kinds of things. But it's like, if you just give yourself 60 to 90 days and really start to see the transformation, it will be there. Even if somebody started drinking ketones and they just eat like crap, I mean, and made no changes whatsoever, they're still going to benefit from having ketones in their system. Their body is going to use the ketones before it will use the glucose for the fuel. And they're going to just start feeling better whether they like it or not. It just is going to start happening. So, sometimes people will be like, I'm just not quite as hungry, or I'm not craving the ice cream as much, at night, and just those tiny changes can make a big difference. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, man, I'm kind of in that same boat where like 2 weeks go by and I'm like, why haven't I dropped 20 pounds? It's like,
right.
you try to convince yourself that it's doable.
Yeah. One of the things that Pruvit offers is a 10-day ketone challenge pack, which is a box of the ketones, 20 packets in there, with the intention that you would drink 2 a day over a 10-day period to experience what it's like to have ketone energy. So a lot of times people will look at that and say, well, I should be able to lose, a ton of weight in 10 days. A lot of people will lose a few pounds in 10 days. Some people may not lose anything, but it's just getting that sense of what it feels like and being realistic with yourself. Just like you said, it's taken a long time to get to this level of health or this level of body fat. Excuse me. But if you've got something and you can try it and you just start to let it be the tool that it can be for you, let it help you, you'll keep going down the right path. It just kind of happens. It happens naturally. It's been awesome to meet and see so many people whose health has truly been transformed. And, that's from, anybody that's, somebody that, again, had no body fat to lose, but wanted to perform better, to, people that have lost over 200 pounds because they now have the tools. So, we just all have to be realistic with ourselves and recognize that, it's kind of like the spokes of the wheel. If you put all the spokes of the wheel and, what you're eating, how you're moving, how you're feeling, where your mental, focus is today, how you're sleeping, putting all of that together, and recognizing that if you're paying attention to all of that, at least in some way, your overall performance, your overall health is going to improve.
Mm-hmm. I think thinking about that wheel, especially for Canadians and those in northern U.S., especially now, because we're in September right now, it's about to get cold and it's about to get gloomy. And I know for me, the seasonal depression hits like a truck because there is no sunlight. It is cold as hell. And you can barely leave the house unless you're going to the gym or whatever. But if you're not going to the gym or seeing friends or anything, you're kind of stuck in the snow. So your energy levels go, and you start to lose that prioritization that you maybe have gained in the summer or maybe have gained in lockdown. And now that things are going back to normal, like my work schedule was crazy. The first 2 weeks, I lost all of my routine for my mental and physical well-being. I threw it out the window. It was gone. So that's definitely something to take into account as we head into the cold season, is like, you got to prioritize these things, especially now, because you're not getting that vitamin D. You're not getting that summer heat. You're not getting those outdoor exercise minutes that you had before.
Yeah, that's really true. And, I might live in Florida now, but before I lived in Florida, I lived in Minnesota. So I know that cold, I know that gloominess, I know what happens, kind of when the weather shifts like that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it is tough. one of the things that I think is really awesome about Prüvit is that there truly is a community that supports each other. There's Facebook pages and Facebook groups, and Prüvit as a company is sharing information all the time. There are some different things that are done. There's a 24-hour fast. There's a 60-hour fast. People don't have to do those if that's not their interest, but they do it as a community. People all over the world are doing those kinds of things, and people all over the world are connecting through some of these social media, modes, and that's, I think, really helpful too, because if you're able to kind of connect and hear from, even if you don't, if you're not the one that wants to say anything, but you're reading things and you're recognizing that certain people are trying certain recipes, or this one was struggling with this, and this is kind of where they are at this point. It's good to have that kind of help. If you think about the kinds of things that maybe people have done in the past, whether it's, a certain plan and they go to meetings once a week or once a month or whatever it might be, having that kind of support makes a difference. It can make a huge difference. Having messages like yours, people being able to hear very positive approaches to just handling some of the things that might be going on in their life. But I'm always excited to share some of the resources as well with some folks, to let them know that they're not alone. There's a team of people all over the world that that can share information and that are supporting each other, and that can come into play when, especially if you're kind of going into a season when it's going to be a little bit tougher to be out there and to be in the sunshine, like you said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For those who are listening who may be heading into that season, and kind of want to get involved in that community that you're mentioning, or want to get involved in the ketones in general because it sounds enticing to them or sounds like something that might benefit them in their normal routine, where can they find you, find Pruvit, find that community? Where can they go look for all of this?
Yeah, probably the easiest thing is ketonita.com. It's ketonita.com. And that's a site that I have that I've got some more information on there. There's, people can just click on that and dig as much as they want, or if they are interested in trying the ketones, there's several different ways to do that. They can get a trial pack or a 10-day challenge pack, as I mentioned, or just look at the different options. But I would probably direct people there, ketonita.com, and reach out to me. My contact information is there. Love to talk to anybody that's got any questions or that's interested in trying the product. And I'll make sure that you get connected to the groups and different information that's out there that people might want to take a look at and have.
Amazing. Well, Nita, I'll put those links down below. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. I appreciate the research you're doing. This all sounds super important for people, especially now when there's energy levels are at an all-time low. So I appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for what you do. Obviously, you make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives, and I'm excited about that. And it's just been an honor to be one of your guests. So thanks so much, Harry.
Of course. And to all my listeners, I will see you guys next time.